Now, originally I wasn't going to do this kind of video because nowadays I don't really want to do prediction videos on DLC characters because I feel like once that DLC character comes out, then this video will pretty much be out of date no matter if I got it right or wrong. Though on the other hand, you could say that it's a way to kind of preserve history in a way, but I digress. The main reason why I wanted to make this video was because after the latest interview with Daisuke Ishiwatari, I actually did had a lingering thought on who I think could be the next DLC character. Well, this is proving the point that I was just saying. So, yeah, Slayer is the next DLC character for Season 3, or should I say the final character for Season 3. However, despite that, I still think this video is still gonna be worth making because, first of all, we're getting a Season 4, and second of all, I still think that I have some compelling points to make on who I think might be the first Season 4 DLC character. Especially since this final Season 3 DLC character is gonna be at May, Evo's gonna be at July, so I think we're gonna get an announcement in July, which is not actually that far from now. And when it comes to the character that I'm going to talk about soon, I kind of find it odd that nobody is really ever talking about this one thing. So, ever heard of River City Girls 2? Yeah, it's that neat little beat-em-up game that released in December 15th, 2022 that is a spin-off of the River City Ransom series, and also takes place in the Double Dragon universe as well, at least I think it does. So with that being said, why the hell am I talking about this game? Well, if you don't know, there is actually some Guilty Gear crossover with this game. 2 characters to be specific. Soul Bad Guy, and...
Yeah, you look so scrawny. You better hire me to protect you so you don't die.
You probably know where I'm going with this. Yes, I do think that the next DLC character is gonna be Jam Corrado Berry. And I say this because I always kind of found this inclusion very odd. Though before I go into full detail on that, I actually want to mention 2 other cross promotions that happened early on Strives' run. And that is the King of Fighters All-Stars crossover with Guilty Gear, and the Samurai Showdown crossover with Guilty Gear with Baiken. Started with the Sam Show and Guilty Gear crossover announcement, which was in February 21st, 2021. Before the release of Guilty Gear Strive, which was in June 11th, 2021. And around the exact same date as the Sam Show and Guilty Gear crossover announcement happened, we had the full base roster of Guilty Gear Strive revealed, with Ino being the final character, and Baiken nowhere to be seen. So, in August 16th, when they revealed it was gonna be Baiken that was gonna join Samurai Showdown, they promoted her as a Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 character. Which makes a lot of sense. She wasn't at Strive at this point, and she was using the moveset from Guilty Gear Xrd. But then a mere 4 months later, she was teased to be the next DLC character for Guilty Gear Strive. And for the longest time, I kinda thought that this was meant to be some sort of cross-promotion, like this was all planned out. But then after some time thinking, I don't think that was the case. Now, is it possible for this to be a whole cross-promotion and was planned the whole time? Oh, most certainly. But here's the reason why I don't think that's the case. I don't think SNK were in the know of ArcSys's eternal plans on Guilty Gear Strive, hence not really knowing that Baiken was actually going to be really not that far as a DLC character in Guilty Gear Strive. Because if this was really a cross-promotion, I don't think they would have labeled it as a Guilty Gear XR promotion, but more of a Guilty Gear Strive promotion, or at least just Guilty Gear in general. But no, they specifically have it as Guilty Gear XR. And when it comes to Strive, you could make the argument of if they wanted to promote that game, they probably would have chosen Nagoriyuki instead. Though I could consider two reasons why they considered Baiken instead. Not those two reasons, get your head out of the gutter! And one is because, well, popularity. Obviously Baiken is a super popular character, I don't really have to tell you that if you're watching this video. Or two, it's simply just way too early for Nagoriyuki to even be included because, keep in mind, when the Samurai Showdown and Guilty Gear collab was announced, Strive wasn't even on shelves. And this leads me to believe that this collaboration happened while Guilty Gear Strive was very early on development. And yes, this is very heavy speculation. But again, these kind of crossovers takes a lot of time and negotiations. And when it comes to Arc System Works' other SNK crossover with King of Fighters All-Star, which was revealed in November 22nd, 2021, that was also cross-promoting Guilty Gear XR. Which is also kinda weird because at this point in time, Guilty Gear Strive was already released. And considering that this is also a mobile game, you would assume this would have taken less time to develop, so why is this a Guilty Gear XR promotion and not a Guilty Gear Strive one? Maybe it's because the inclusion of Dizzy, and since she isn't in Strive, or at least still not in this point in time at least, they wanted to use XR instead of Strive. But I still think that's kinda weird. Like, you'd assume that Arc System Works would have wanted SNK to promote their newest and shiniest game that's out at the time. But that kinda makes me more believe that the negotiations that Arc System Works and SNK made happened when Strive was still at its infancy in development. Now I know what all of you might be thinking. What does this got to do with Gem and Guilty Gear Strive? Well, I do think that River City Girls 2's crossover with Guilty Gear is indeed a Guilty Gear Strive promotion. Don't believe me? Look at Soul Bad Guys' design. It's essentially Soul Bad Guys' Strive design, but more streetish? Modernish? Well, you could see it on the screen here. And I do have this very crackpot theory that Jam's design that we see here is probably a tease of what she might look in Guilty Gear Strive. Though the reason why I also mention all the dates is because, well, River City Girls released in December 15th, 2022, as I already mentioned. That is over a year ago, so I don't really blame anyone to think that this is stretching, because that is a pretty long time to hold a character. But at the same time, we have no idea how early they plan out these DLC characters. Let's look back at that Daisuke Ishimitari interview I was talking about in the very beginning of this video. So, A.B.A made it into Strive not because of the polls from 6 months ago, but because they actually had her planned out for a while now. And if I were to guess on how long they were planning on A.B.A to be in Strive, probably ever since they were developing Asuka, since in his arcade mode, A.B.A was kinda mentioned. Well, it's more like they kinda hinted at her, if you get what I mean.
I hadn't seen such immaculate synthetic life since the Frasco specimen.
So more likely over 10 months ago, since at May 2023, that's when the Asuka trailer came out. And obviously before that trailer, they had to do a lot of development and all that stuff. So it was probably over a year ago that they planned out for A.B.A. And going back to River City Girls 2 with Gems' inclusion, I always kind of found it odd that they included Jam in the game, but didn't really choose a character that was already on the roster, like Giovanna, who I think is also a character that actually would have fit pretty well in this game. But I feel like they chose Jam deliberately here. And they even gave her a new English VA, and gave her a new design, and it just kinda makes me feel like it's all pointing towards Jam potentially being a future DLC character. And going back to River City Girls 2's announcement and release, what I kinda find odd about that is the fact that, well, the announcement trailer was around October 2021, and its release date was originally going to be at the summer of 2022. But then it seemingly got delayed to December 2021. Now of course, those delays probably had nothing to do with Arc System Works and the inclusion of Jam and Soul in the game, but it does kinda make me think a little bit more as well. But I will admit, this last part is probably a stretch and me overthinking things. But who knows, I wasn't there during the board meetings, and I thought it was something worth mentioning and pointing out. Though personally, even if Jam doesn't make it as the next DLC character, I am perfectly fine with any Guilty Gear character making it in, because I honestly really like these characters and their lores and all that stuff. Though, if you ask me, another likely candidate would be Dizzy, because she's not just a very popular character, but they're also having some merchandise of her pretty much on the way, and really, I'm perfectly fine with really any Guilty Gear character, if you ask me. And hell, I actually would really like to see more obscure Guilty Gear characters also be playable as well, like Izuna, Dr. Paradigm, and hell, maybe even Daryl or Crow. I'll actually be perfectly fine with those two characters being playable, since I know that Arc System Works could make them really fun and creative. But I'm just rambling at this point, so if I end up getting everything wrong in this video, then in the comments you could just call me a doo-doo brain dummy head and call it a day. So with all that being said, this is MegaYoYo, and I'll see you next time.